Okay, so we've moved on into part two here with special needs searches, and I'm going to tell you right now, be prepared for some rather challenging information to be presented to you here. Um, but whenever it comes to a special needs search, basically what this is the court has said that there is a special need for a search, and it's okay to search limited to that capacity without a warrant, and it's not a Fourth Amendment violation. So there's two questions that they have to ask themselves. First, is there a real and significant problem beyond the normal need for law enforcement? And the second question is, if there is, would allowing searches without warrants and probable cause meet the need? And so then, if the question is yes to both, then reasonableness in a context specific inquiry that balances the nature and quality of the intrusion with the expectation of privacy must occur. So basically, they have to look at the specific incident and see how much of an intrusion are we creating into the life of the citizen here, and how much of an expectation of privacy do they have at this point. So, yeah, it's a mess. So here you see the list of special needs searches. Searches of government employees, governmental drug testing, searches of correctional facilities, probationers and parolees, elementary and high school students, college students, border searches, airport and courthouse searches, public transit system searches, and DNA searches. So quite a few. I will go ahead and tell you right now that the DNA search listed there is probably not what you're thinking, but we'll get to it in a moment. Okay, so searches of government employees. Well, here's the thing: is the Supreme Court has said that requiring an employer to obtain a warrant to search an employee's desk or something is patently unreasonable. Um, just because you work for the government doesn't mean that you always have Fourth Amendment protections that are not afforded to employees in the private sector. And so the questions that the court has to look at here is the work area exclusively the employees? Meaning, are you the only one that works there? The next is how much access to that workspace do other people have? What is the nature of your employment? And then whether office regulations notified the employee, of areas subject to intrusion. So, my patrol car, I share it with another corporal, but in the end, it doesn't say Corporal Smitty on the side of it. It says Liberal Police Department, and therefore, any officer can use my patrol car. So, anything that I leave in my patrol car is subject to search. I have no reasonable expectation of privacy of any property that I leave in my patrol car. I do have personal items in a drawer in a filing cabinet in the office, and people have access to that at any time. They generally don't unless they're looking for something specific, but there's nothing that prevents them from looking in that. It's not a locked drawer, so anybody can open it at any time. Like my ticket book. Now we think of the clipboard that the tickets are in as the ticket book. So don't get that confused there. But my ticket book is my personal property. But the tickets, the warnings, the statute books, the tow stickers, the fine schedules, everything like that that's inside of my ticket book is property of the city. So I have no reasonable expectation of privacy with the contents of my ticket book, which I mean, it's their stuff. Why would I care? So that's the thing there. And then the other thing with what you see here on the last one, whether office regulations notify the employee of areas subject to intrusion. One thing in department policy at the Liberal Police Department is it tells you right up front in like policy number 3 or something like that, I think. It tells you that you have no expectation of privacy within the police department with respect to department equipment. So that notice is right there, right from the get go. And so just understand that government employees are not granted any kind of special Fourth Amendment protection beyond what private employees are granted as a general rule. Okay, so with searches of correctional facilities, what you'll find in most of the case law regarding this is that security of the facility is paramount. That is the big key. So privacy rights for prisoners does not affect the need for security of the facility. Basically meaning that, yes, that is your cell that we have assigned you to, and yes, it does have your personal property in there, but a lot of your personal property is property belonging to the county or the state or the federal government. But at any rate, because security of the facility is paramount, your privacy rights as a prisoner are nil. We can still come in and shake down your cell at any time for pretty much any reason. And we're good to go. And I don't need a warrant and all of that because security of the facility is paramount. The next one that'll really blow your mind is that searching persons, including strip searches, are acceptable on a broad scale so long as they're not abusive. So if the warden of Hutchinson Correctional Facility there in Hutchinson, Kansas, decrees that all incoming inmates will be strip searched and that any non-prison staff that enters the facility and has contact with inmates will be strip searched prior to contact with the inmates. And then any inmates returning from a contact visit will be strip searched. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have any probable cause. You don't need a warrant. And that is perfectly acceptable from the Supreme Court because, again, security of the facility is paramount, and those searches are not being abusive because they are preventing contraband from being introduced into the facility by incoming inmates, inmates returning from a contact visit, and people coming into the facility that are having contact with inmates. So all of that is reasonably articulable under the special needs exception for searching correctional facilities. Probationers and parolees have a diminished expectation of privacy. So basically, if we were to require probation officers or parole officers to get a warrant every time they needed to search their client, it would inhibit the effectiveness and the efficiency of the probation system, and it would establish the magistrate who issues the warrants as the supervisor of the client, not the probation or parole officer. So probation and parolees are, good to go on a search without violating the Fourth Amendment and without a warrant or probable cause. School students, same thing. The Fourth Amendment applies, but the warrant requirement does not. So the thing is you can still be searched by school staff without a warrant, provided that the search is reasonable. And the reason being is because, similar to a prison, security is necessary within the school. And so reasonableness is the key there. College students. So this is going to take a little bit longer than the time I have here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here and start you another video in just a moment.